Hey, I'm Fergie and I'm a UX and product designer based in London, and today I am partnering with Bravo. Bravo is an app building platform that turns your designs into a native mobile app, giving you the freedom to design whilst not needing to code. In this video, I will demonstrate how you can create your very first mobile app using Adobe XD and Bravo, and absolutely no code. We're going to design a few screens, add the Bravo tags, and export to test in Bravo Vision. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. Okay, let's get started. We are going to design a news app, but it's going to be news based on design. And we're going to create a news feed and video feed, a top bar, a vertical list, a back button, a share button, a slide-in menu, and we're also going to add video, images, and article content. Then we'll be Bravoizing our screens. So we're going to be connecting things together, adding the all-important Bravo tags, because the tags are what turn what we've created in our design into the mobile components or the actions that we want our native app to do. We're then going to export to Bravo and experience our app in Bravo Vision on our phones. So I have my Adobe XD document here, and I've just placed out a few artboards for the screens that our news app is going to need, so we don't forget anything. Firstly, we've got a menu, then we've got a couple of screens for our articles, one for the feed and one for what an actual article will look like, and then the same for video, a video feed and what an actual video screen would look like. So the first thing I'm going to do is start to design my top bar on my articles screen. So I'm just going to use the rectangle tool and take off the border and give it a fill color. Now, in order to have our menu, we need to have a menu button. So I'm just going to draw one with the ellipse tool. Next, I need to create a rectangle around 45 pixels square, and again I am going to take off the border, and I'm also going to take off and remove the fill. And if I show you my layers panel over here, I'm going to put the rectangle beneath those three ellipses, and I'm just going to center things up nicely, and I'm going to group them together because this is my menu button. And then that rectangle that we've just created, this is a really important step to not miss, we need to rename it area so that when we send this into Bravo, it knows that this is the hit and tap area for this button. And this one, I'm just going to call that our background color. Okay, so the next thing we're going to need is our title. So we're going to have exclusive articles in this app. So we'll go ahead and give that a title, and I'm just going to reduce down the size. And I'm going to use my guides, which is just under layout. So if you click on the artboard, underneath grid, you can have a layout grid or a square pixel grid. I just tend to use the layout one so I can see the columns. Alright, I just want to make sure that there is a decent amount of space underneath our title, and I'm going to make sure there is no spacing between the characters, and this is something that I didn't realize the first time, but we need to set this to 0 because this is something that only applies correctly in XD. When you export to Bravo, that will look like a much wider space. So we need to make sure we set that to 0 and just leave it as a default. So that is a top tip. And I'm also going to set my font to PT Sans. That's what I've decided to use. Now I did create a few brand elements early. You can see them over here. And I have already added these into the document assets. So you can see I have my color swatches here, my character style, and my logo as a component. And this is just so I can easily access them throughout working in this project. Now I want to add our logo to the header as well, to that top bar. So I'm just going to take part of the logo. I've decided I want the logo type, not the whole thing, because I think it's a bit too complex. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste it onto this artboard here. And I'm going to group it. And now if I go to my layers, because this is all individual paths, because I drew it as an SVG, I need to tell Bravo that this is an SVG. So I'm going to add some square brackets to the group name, and we are going to label it component colon SVG. And this way Bravo knows exactly how to treat this group of layers. Okay, and I'm going to make sure our button is where we want it to be. I think that's pretty good spacing. Now to turn this into a top bar so that Bravo knows how to treat it, we need to add the Bravo tag to the group name. So we need to head over to bravostudio.app, and then underneath features you'll see a link to Bravo tags. Or if you've created an account and logged in, you'll see a link to the tag list here. And that will take you to this Notion page full of all of the Bravo tags that you need. So we just need to open the containers, top bar and slider section, and then you can look at the descriptions to better understand which one of these tags you want to use. Now we are going to use the top bar hide on scroll, so that when we're scrolling through the content it disappears, but if we scroll back upwards then it will be visible again and reappear. So I am going to just copy this Bravo tag here. I'm going to go back to XD and I'm going to rename my group with that Bravo tag. So container, top bar, hide, scroll. And I know that this needs to go into the group name, because if I refer back to that tags list, then I can see that it says second level container. This means that the Bravo tag goes on to the group within XD. For example, if it was going to be something else like a menu that we'll come to do later, you'll see that that says top level app page, and that means that it needs to be in the artboard name. So we have our first Bravoized container, and it is our top bar that hides on scroll. And we have our logo inside, which is component SVG. And then we have our title, our menu button, and just the background color. Now I actually want to just add a little decorative kind of stripe here as well to the bottom of my top bar to give it a little bit of separation from the content. So I'm just going to add that in, and because it's within the group, that will be in the top bar. Next up, we need to design our newsfeed of articles. So I want to create a vertical scroll list. So to start with, I am going to insert a rectangle, and this will be an image related to the article. And then I'm going to add a gradient on top of that so that we can read the article heading on top of the image. So I've just duplicated the same rectangle. I've given it a linear gradient fill. I'm going to remove the border. And what I'm also going to do is just add in another linear gradient point so that the top one is 0% opacity. We obviously want to be able to see the image through the gradient. Now I'm going to add in my heading, and I want to make sure it can go over 2 lines. I'm going to make this a text box so that I can expand it, and then with my rectangles I'm actually going to make them almost full width. So just got them both selected, and I want about a 5 pixel border. Same for the top. Just going to hold down Option on my keypad and then nudge that up by 10 pixels. I'm going to remove the border from where the image will be and just slightly reduce the height of the gradient rectangle overlay. I think that is pretty good. It gives us a lot of space for the headings. Now I might also want to add how long an article is going to take to read. So I'm going to add this in just at the bottom here, and try and get it to align with that second row of the heading. But we don't need it to be bold. We also don't need these to be 20, that is really quite large. So we can put those down to about 16 and just punch that along. Because our title up here is 20, so we need to create some visual hierarchy. We could maybe even bump that up a tad more since it's going to disappear once the user starts scrolling through the page. I'm also just going to make our logo white so it fits in. And there we go. We now need to create multiple articles. So what I'm going to do for this is just group that, and I'm going to rename that as an article so that I know what it is. And the next thing I'm going to do is actually use the repeat grid just as a little bit of a shortcut, because we're also going to be adding in our own content that is then visible within the app. So you can see I'm just going to drag this out all the way down so we have multiple articles. And then the next thing I'll do is just grab that handle of the bottom of our artboard and drag that down to match. There we go. So now you can see we have a lot of space for a lot of articles. And if I want to change that spacing, I just have to click onto the repeat grid, hover my mouse over the gap in between, and I get this little pink highlight. So I'm just going to change that to be around 10, and we'll see how that looks. Now we need to add our content, and I'm going to show you how to add content that will be static. So whatever the content is within your XD document will be the content that is shown within the app. But if you want to know how to add data via an API, let me know in the comments and I can cover that in another video. Okay, so I have borrowed some articles and images from TED.com, and I'm just going to select all the article images here, and I'm simply going to drag and drop them onto that image rectangle of our repeat grid, and XD knows that I'm trying to create a list, and it will basically insert all the images, and once it hits the last image it will then just repeat. So this is a nice indication for me here that I created too many and I just need to decrease that length of the repeat grid and also the artboard. So I'm just going to grab the green handle there and then grab the handle of the artboard, and there we go. Now I'm also going to do the same for the headlines. So I have it's just a TXT file, and I'm going to drag and drop that onto our text layer, and it's inserted the headings for us. Just as easy as that, we can add content. Now, if you're using a repeat grid, we need to make sure that we ungroup that, because we need to be adding our Bravo tag. We need to put those into a container. So we're just going to group those all together, rename the group container in our square brackets. And it's just as simple as that. But we also need to add a rectangle to let Bravo know the area of our list. So the container, obviously we can't add in any values to tell it what size to display. So we do that by adding a rectangle and labeling it area. Again, we can turn off that border color and that fill color, and I'm just going to put it into the back of our article container. I actually think that this gradient is not very nice now that I can see it on top of our images, so I'm really quickly going to edit that. There we have our article feed. Now what we need to do is create what it looks like when we open one of these articles. So again, we're going to start with a rectangle, and I'm going to turn off the border, and just for a moment I'm going to give it a pale fill color and adjust the height to be a little bit longer so that it's quite a statement featured image. Now we're going to need to add a back button because we're inside a piece of content, So we've gone down a layer within our navigation, and we need to allow the user to get back. So over here, I've already collected some icons together. So I'm just going to copy and paste it to where we need it to go. And because it is a button, we need to create that area for the button. So we want our 45 pixel square. I'm going to turn off the border, turn off the fill, go back to my layers panel and just center those together. I'm going to group them and we're going to call it back button. What else might we want here? We're going to need a heading for the article. So I am going to borrow the heading we've already created, copy paste that over here. And we're also going to add in a few social buttons. So we'll create a share button, a like button, and a bookmark button. The great thing, because we're using Bravo, we can make this become an actual share button, because obviously this is going to become a native app. So all we have to do is just go over to our tags list and we want to look at the actions, and underneath here we will find one for opening the share dialog. So we can see it here, it is just action share. So I'm going to copy this, and where this needs to go is any layer except for the top level. Okay, so we're going to go back into XD. We're going to double click on our group here, and I'm just going to paste in that Bravo tag. And there we go. That share button will now be interactive when we are testing and previewing in Bravo Vision later on. It really is as simple as that. Okay, so now we need to add in some text for this article. So I'm just going to create a really large text box, and I am borrowing the article from TED, so I've already got that here ready. So it's quite a long article. I think it would be nice to also have an image, maybe around halfway. And there we go. Now we need to put all of our content into containers. So I'm going to create one container up here for the header and back button, and then I will do the same for everything below that. I'm just going to group it and call it container. You can see that my save button hasn't made it into my selection, so you can also name the layers. So we're going to call this the actual article so that we know what we're doing. I'm going to drag and drop that in there so that it's in the right place. Remember what we said earlier about containers. We also need to give them the area so that Bravo knows what size to create this container at. So I'm just going to make this large enough that it covers all of our content. Again, turn off the fill and the border and name it area. They might want to share it. So I'm going to go ahead and just add these in, and we are complete. We have an article page with our Bravo tags ready to go. So now we need to create our video feed, and I want it to be quite similar to the article feed, but maybe with a few differences. So what we can do to get started with is copy our top bar over, and then I'm just going to change the title to videos. Now this already has our Bravo tag because we've literally just copied and pasted it. So that is ready to go. Next up, I want us to create some thumbnails for those videos. And there we go, we now have our video feed. But going into our video page is where it gets exciting, so let's finish this off by ungrouping the repeat grid and adding in our rectangle to tell Bravo the area of the container these are going to go inside of. So you can see I've just made that cover the whole feed where we need it to be, turn off the fill, turn off the border, rename it to area. And now with my selection tool, I am going to select everything in our feed, group it, and these are our video thumbnails. This is a container. So now we're going into viewing a video, and I'm just going to borrow from what we've already created in the articles page, copy and paste that in. Now the video descriptions are not as long, so I'm going to delete a few of these things in here because we don't need them. And it's this like button and share button we're going to remove, and the area I will just reduce down to fit the height of the artboard. And the description that I have for our video is one that I am just borrowing from TED Talks. So I'm just going to copy and paste this in. As you can see, it is a fair bit shorter. Just renamed my layer there. It still needs to be a container, so we can leave that container tag, but I'm just renaming it so that I know that is our video description. Okay, now the exciting part, we are going to add an actual video into our app screen here. So I have drawn a rectangle because the rectangle is the base of a lot of content. And again, I don't want a border, but I will just give it a light fill because I know that a video is gonna go here. So what I can also do is just move our container up so that you can see when I move things around in XD, you get these little indicators that tell you how far away you are from it, what's the spacing, and then when things are butted up right next to each other. So this will be our video screen, and we need to just add a few navigational buttons here. So we need our back button. Again, we've already created this, so let's go ahead and make use of what we've created. And now let's create what could potentially be a button to watch the video in full screen. Now we need to add our Bravo tags. So firstly, we're going to select the rectangle that we have for our video, and I'll just show you on our tag list. If you open up the components section, you will see the different tags that you can enter for the type of content that you might want to display. So we have one here for video, GIF, Lottie animations, I'll show you one of those in a moment, and all kinds of other content, including the SVG that we did earlier for our logo. So here you can see that we need to do component, video, and then the URL of the video. I'm going to go back to XD. I'm going to rename this rectangle with our Bravo tag. And now I am just going to grab our video URL from TED Talks. I am just going to paste that in here. So if I expand the panel here, you can see we have component, video, and the full URL ending in .mp4. So now when we load up this screen, it will be playing a video. How exciting is that? I know, I cannot wait to see it. Let me know in the comments, what do you find the most difficult part of building an app? Okay, so now we need to finish adding the rest of our Bravo tags for this screen. So we need to group some of our elements into containers. Just like that, square brackets, container. And then we already have our video description. Just going to change this icon color again to be white so that it shows up on the video when it plays. And there we have it. Everything is with the correct Bravo tags. Everything is within containers. We have pretty much all of our screens ready to go. Just going to double check through here. We've got areas for all of our containers. Yep. Lastly, let's create the menu. And there are multiple styles of menus that you can create with Bravo because of using the native app capability. So I'm just going to click on this section to look at menus. We can go with a slide menu. So we need the Bravo tag menu slide. And we need to place this at the top level app page. So this is really important. We need to make sure that this Bravo tag is going into our artboard name. So I'm just going to double click on the artboard and rename it to include our Bravo tag. Next up, I am going to give our slide menu a background because it's going to be an overlay. I'm going to use again this teal brand color and make it about 850. I want to add the logo that we have. Because this is an SVG, what are we naming this? We are naming this component SVG. And we can always double check these things within that tags list in Notion. So we can go down here and we know that it is component SVG. So once you start creating things and adding the Bravo tags, it really does become really familiar once you know what you need to add. Okay, so within our menu, we need a few things. I've already collected some icons here that I would like to use. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste those onto my artboard. There we go. Okay, so I have some icons. I need to also add a label for them. So we're going to change them to be the white fill color and add some labels. Don't need them to be bold. I think 16 is about the right font size. So created one. Now I can duplicate these and just rename them. So if we were to continue creating this app, these are some of the other screens I might create. And if you'd like to have another video where we continue to build out this app, please subscribe and turn on the notifications. Oops, I've hit the caps locks. Podcast. And then our saved items. So we're going to call that your saves. Okay, so just want to make sure that these are nice and centrally aligned to the icons. So I'm just going to select them both, centrally align them and group them together. This is podcast. Group them. This one is video. So naming layers just makes everything really convenient when you're making sure everything is correct. I'm a big fan of naming layers. So this is our articles. And what have I lost here? This one, I missed this one off. Okay, group that. That is our saves. Then we also need a way for our users to adjust any settings and also log out. So I'm going to use these icons here. Make sure we're lining them up in a similar way. We have what our slide app menu will look like. I'm just going to give the artboard no fill, turn that off, And what's the most important thing we need to do here? You guessed it, we need to group all of this into a container. So if you get in the habit of naming your layers, then adding the Bravo tags will also become second nature. Alright, here we have what our app is going to look like. So now we're going to start connecting up the screens. And we're going to do this in prototype mode. Now, the first thing we're going to do that is very important is set the home page for our app. So this is what Bravo will look for to know what screen to load up when opening your app. All right, so I'm just going to hit that little house icon, and that is now my home screen. I want to add the menu link so that when we click on our menu button, it brings in the menu. So we've gone with the menu slide, so that tells Bravo to bring the menu in, sliding in from the side. So now all we need to do is connect the two. So I'm just going to drag and drop that handle over there, and I'm going to do the same for the video screen, and now the menu button is linked up. Let's make sure we link up our menu the other way around. Now when we click on the menu items, they will go to the correct screens. Just like that. Let's do our article. So I want to be able to select this first article and view it. And if I hit the back button, I want to be able to go back to our newsfeed. And similarly for our videos, I want to be able to view this fourth video. And if I hit the back button, I want to go back to our video feed. That is all of our connections completed. And I will just select all of the artboards so that we can see all of the wires. There we go. We can see everything is coming back and forth. Everything is connected. Something that we can also do with Bravo is create the app icon and any kind of loading screen. Let's get those tags from the master list. Now these are what's known as App Store assets for the app icon. So we're just going to copy this assets icon. We're going to paste this on the top level app page. So that's our artboard name. So I've called it icon, and then we're going to add in that very important Bravo tag of asset icon. And for a loading screen is actually a state. So we just need to open that section with states, and this for us will be a custom loading page. Now this is something that we won't see during our preview because we're not actually pulling any data. The data is obviously already in our app via XD, but if we were to connect some data via an API, whilst Bravo is pulling the latest from that data source, this is what you would see. Now, what I think works quite nicely on the loading screen is a Lottie animation. So you can just head over to lottiefiles.com and search for the kind of animation that you want to use. Now, I've searched for an eye blink because I think it's quite a fun way of it relating to the logo, and I quite like this eye here. Now you can also use the typical loading spinners or whatever you prefer, and Lottie gives you the ability to customize all of this. But the important thing that we need to be able to have this working in Bravo is this Lottie animation URL. So I'm just going to copy this by the click of a button. I'm also going to download the GIF just so that I can put it on an artboard. So there you go, I have inserted an image of the Lottie animation I want to use, and over here we need to add the Bravo tag to the layer name. So we're going to add component Lottie and then the URL that we copied earlier, and then close the square brackets, and you'll notice that that URL ends in a .json. Okay, so I'll just show you that here within the tags list. So we're going to go to components, and you'll see here Lottie, you want component, Lottie, and the JSON URL. I also want the loading screen to match the background of that, so I'm just going to create that and perhaps reduce the size of this. And I could also add a text label to say things are loading, and I could just put that there underneath our Lottie file. And again, I'm going to group these and put them into a container. But of course, we need to add our rectangle as well, so that we know the area of the container. So I'm just going to put that in there and then turn off the styling. So there we go, we have a loading screen. And now for the app icon, I'm also just going to quite simply use our logo that I've created already, and let's go with teal, and I'm going to just resize this to make it fit in quite nicely, center it, and there we go. Let's have a look and see what we've got. We have a full app, we have all of our Bravo tags that we need. Let's refer back to our checklist. We've created our top bar, we've created that vertical list in our news feed and our video feed. We have our back button, our share button, that slide in menu, and we have added all of our Bravo tags. We need to go to our Bravo plugin. If you haven't done this already, you can click the plus icon at the top of that panel and just search for Bravo and install it here. Once you've done that and you log in, you'll be prompted to create a project. We're going to call this Designer News. And I'm going to hit the create button, and Bravo will quickly just set up this new project for me. And it's going to upload all of the screens I have created. And anytime you make a change or an adjustment, all you have to do is come back to this Bravo Studio plugin panel and hit the update button for the correct project that this file relates to. So now if I go over to my Bravo Studio dashboard, I will see this project, and there it is. So since we added the app icon, you can see that here. And here are a few other projects that I've created, some with app icons and some without. So if we open up the project, we can also see that all of our artboards have correctly synced. Okay, now for the really fun and exciting part. We are going to preview and test our app using Bravo Vision, which you can download from the App Store or the Google Play Store. When we open Bravo Vision, we are shown all of the projects we have created, and we can simply tap one to open. Here you can see we have our vertical list that we can scroll through, and then select an article to view it. We can even tap that share button to see the native share modal pop up. That slide in menu can be accessed from either the menu button that we created or simply using a slide gesture from the side of the screen. Our videos vertical list works lovely here, and we can tap on one to view the video, and I mean, just look at that, the video automatically plays. If you make any updates to your app design and you want to view those in Bravo Vision, you simply do a long press on the screen and select Update with Bravo. Or if you want to go back and view another one of your projects, select Exit App Project. Bravissimo, you've created your first app with zero code. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more.
Hi web designers, if you really enjoyed this video, please hit like or subscribe or whatever. Just leave a comment. It will help you really much to get to the YouTube algorithm. I'm for sure you will see our videos all week.